Well, thanks for joining me today. So today I want to talk about this new sight of mine. It's a CBE Tactic Hybrid. So it's a 3-pin adjustable sight, and I just want to go over kind of how to set this thing up. I know it was kind of confusing using the directions that came with this thing and using different sight tapes that are on there. So I did a little bit of research, ran across another video that helped explain it a lot better than the directions did, and I think I did it a little bit differently, and I just wanted to kind of explain that as I thought it was fairly easy for me. I guess for starters, the one thing you do have to make sure of is get your bow set to the weight that you want, your draw weight and proper draw length, because any changes to the feet per second is going to change your sight tape. So I made sure that I'm adjusted to where I want to be. The other thing you need to make sure of is make sure you're using the arrows that you're going to be shooting. I ended up shooting 2 different arrows when I was sighting this thing in, and I would tell you at 60 yards it made a difference of probably 6 to 8 inches, and at 100 yards I couldn't even find the arrows that I hadn't properly sighted in at 20 yards. So make sure you've got the right arrows, make sure you've got the right draw weight that you're going to be using, because it obviously will change this. Essentially what you're trying to do is figure the right sight tape for shooting the feet per second that your bow is. So what I ended up doing was I sighted in at 20 yards using my just 20-yard pin, and then what I did was I stepped back in 20-yard increments, so I went back to 40 and loosened this and just adjusted, brought that sight down. At 20 yards I put a mark, and then when I moved it down to that 60-yard position and I shot at 60 yards, I put another dash there where I felt I was zeroed in at 60 yards. Then I pulled that piece of tape off, took it over to the different sight tapes, and basically you're looking for that measurement where between those hash marks, and you're going to line that up with the 20-yard and the 60-yard sight tape. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you your best measurement. Ideally, if you wanted to, you could use 40 to 80. It doesn't really matter, but the 60-yard, that 40-yard range gave you a good measure to know which sight tape number to choose. After that, then you can put that sight tape on there, and what you're going to do is make sure, this is the important part, is make sure that when you go to put that sight tape back on, loosen this thing up, crank it back to where your 20-yard mark was. So for me, because I used my 20-yard pin to do all my sighting in at, my bottom pin is going to be my floater. So my 20-yard pin is what I used, but my 40-yard pin is going to be my floater. So when I move this dial here, when it's looking at that number on this ticker, that's going to be what my 40-yard pin is sighted in at.
Alright, so I already have a sight tape on there, but that's obviously not going to be any good. So what I'm going to do is I just cut a little piece of painter's tape here, and I'm going to put that over this, and what we're going to do is we're going to basically sight in the bow at 20 yards, and then we're going to adjust, we're going to roll this dial and shoot at 60 yards. So right now where that line is, we're going to put a line there, I should say. So right there, we're going to put a line, and that's where our 20-yard sight will be at. Right where that line is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to loosen our adjuster, and we'll spin this and get this sighted in at 60, and then we'll put a new line where 60 is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to peel that tape off, and then we'll go back to our sight tapes, and we'll have the right sight tape. So then we should be able to use the sight tape to get us to shoot all the way to 100. So I kind of go through that process right now. So for this process, what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to just be using my top sight here, which I'm already dialed in at 20. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be backing up and slowly getting it to where I can shoot that sight at 60 as I change that dial, and then we'll be marking a point. Because all we're trying to do is trying to figure out how many feet per second we're going. So we'll start at our home position, and actually we'll turn our dial up just a little bit. I'm going to go to 30 and 40 and 50 and all the way back to 60 and shoot until we're sighted in with that top pin at 60, and then we'll make our mark. We're all dialed in here at 60. So what we're going to do now is we have that piece of tape that we put on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a hash mark before I do anything right here where I'm at. And basically what that did is I have a hash mark right here, and then another hash mark down here. And I'll peel that piece of tape off, and what that is basically it's giving me the dimension of how far I spun that dial to go from 20 to 60. And basically that's going to be some sort of judgment of feet per second. And I'll match that up to the sight tapes that this CBE sight came with, and then we'll install a new sight tape. So, alright, so here is that piece of tape, and we've got our two hash marks. One was at 20, one was at 60. And basically what we're doing is we're lining up the 20 here and the 60 here, and basically picking out the best sight tape that's closest to that. So previously I had my old, before I had adjusted everything, you can see that tape there, and I was using sight tape number 18, but we're definitely going to be changing to what looks to be 15 or 16. I think we'll be going with 16. So I'm just going to put this here, and I'll peel off our old sight tape and we'll install the new one. So now we've loosened this up. We've turned our dial all the way back to our home position. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our 40-yard marker right here, because what we're doing now is we're using our 40-yard pin. We're going back to our 40-yard pin. So ignore that we were using this 20-yard pin. We were just using that 20-yard pin to give us our feet per second essentially. So now we're going to turn that 40-yard pin into our floater. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take that sight tape and we're going to put it on this dial, and we're going to put the 40-yard marker right here at that red spot. So now if I've done everything correctly, I'm on 40. Should be able to switch this over to 50. And I'm standing at 50 yards. Should be able to send one down range and be right on. Alright, we're going at 100 yards there. Hit the target. I believe in the black, but it's hard to see from back here. The other ball. We're going to shoot one more. I feel like that one for sure hit high. So, this time I'm not bringing the tripod. I feel like maybe that was what was causing the problems. Just going to carry the camera. And lock it down. Right there. There's my 100-yard group. Back out. I can touch all three of those arrows at 100 yards. It's awesome. So guys, thanks for joining me. I'm going to run some clips from another round of shooting that I did at 100 yards, plus some drone footage that I filmed the last time I sighted it in.
just as I finished talking to you guys about this site. So I bought the site online for about 120 bucks, and it's available at some of your local big box stores, big box outdoor stores like Cabela's and Bass Pro and stuff like that. Definitely can get it there as well. I'm definitely impressed with the performance and the build quality of this site. The entire site housing, except for the housing, is made of aluminum. Everything on here is really high quality. The site housing itself is made out of like a really high strength polymer plastic. It does have the level in it as well, and it also has this light. The only bad thing that I have to say about that is this light. When you turn it on, let me face it towards you guys actually, because this is the way you'd see it. It turns on, and it has an adjustable brightness. It gets brighter, and it also has a detent that keeps this knob locked in position, so that way it's not turning on while it's in your case and everything. But the only thing I have bad to say about it is I'm not sure why they made this all clear here, and it just illuminates. So if I'm out in the woods hunting and it's getting dark and I turn this thing on, it's just super bright. And definitely I'll be covering that up or something, because I just think that that's something that the deer are going to see. And this makes no difference whether this was black or see-through to how bright the fiber optics are here. So that's something I'll be fixing for hunting season. But overall, extremely happy with it. Definitely happy with the purchase. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope it helped you out with your adjustable sight. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. And thanks for joining me.
What we got? That's my group right there. Touch all 4 of these.